Welcome to Muscle Maintenance Within Shape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim, and today's podcast workout is called Animal Exercise. Yep, we are going native a little bit. As with all of our exercise routines, you're not going to need any equipment. In fact, you shouldn't even wear shoes on your feet. Barefoot is definitely best. And we're going to do exercises that work the entire body in about 15 minutes. It's a short exercise routine and it's not too impactful, but there are some rigorous elements to it when we get to things like monkey jumps and donkey kicks. So you know, we're going to have some fun. This is a great one for families. And if you can start off, we're going to start in human form and then go backwards through evolution a little bit. But we're starting off just standing up really tall. We're going to take about 60 seconds for the postural systems check, just to make sure that you take the time to breathe deeply. First of all, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And that is really, really important because it helps bring quality oxygenated blood into your neuromuscular system, delivering all of that fresh oxygen to the limbs, and you're going to be using them. And of course, obviously, as your heart rate elevates, you're going to benefit from all of that fresh air. So then exhale through your mouth. If you inhale through your mouth, as you're taking these last couple of deep breaths, thinking about where the placement of your head, make sure that you're rolling your shoulders a little bit, that your shoulders are back and that your chest is open. If you inhale through your mouth, you activate fight or flight, which is somewhat animal-like, somewhat primitive. But what happens when you do that is that you, by activating fight or flight, you also pump stress hormones in your body that work against the sort of optimized level of metabolism that you need in order to manage your heart rate and manage your internal cellular processes. So we inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. All right, now let's get down on all fours because we're going to stretch at the back a little bit. A lot of what we do, I classify a lot of these exercise sizes in our own In Shape Fitness database as what we call PPHC exercises. And this is the functional priority that relates to core workouts. So there's, the whole sort of discipline of Pilates is core focused. But in the case with equipment-free type work, a lot of times, we turn over and get on all fours in order to move the body in certain ways that four-legged animals move in naturally every single day. And as humans, we lost the ability to make and maintain good contact with our ground surfaces. And by virtue of that, all of this gravity is sort of weighing down on our spine and preventing us from activating and utilizing our core musculature with a great deal of efficiency. So get down onto your four-legged creature. At the beginning here, we're going to start with a really simple stretch. You know it, I'm sure. It's called cat camel. And you drop your head like a bowling ball and then round up the middle part of your back. The thoracic part of your spine lifts high into the air, into a curve, and you drop your head like a bowling ball to really accentuate that rounded spine. Take a deep breath here, and then lift your head and your chest, contracting your lower back in order to create that kind of inverted sort of hip position, the high hip position of a camel, or some people call this a cow. So take another deep breath, revert back to the cat position, the scared cat, where you take a deep breath in, let your head drop like a bowling ball as you exhale, and then lift up that thoracic rounded portion of the back like a scared cat, and take another deep breath here in this position. As you exhale, you might be able to get a little more lift through the spine, a little more height, closer to your ceiling. Not that you're actually getting close to the ceiling, but you know what I mean. And then as you exhale again, lift your head and your chest one last time for that camel as you contract the lower back. All right. Now we're going to become a dog, not a downward dog, but a bird dog. So this is like a pointer, and you're going to keep your your wrists and your shoulders, they make one straight line up and down, and then your knees and your hips make a straight line up and down. Okay, so now the bird dog is 2 parts, so you're going to create a kind of a crisscross with your limbs. Your right arm and your left leg extend, not up, straight out, so that your limbs are parallel to the floor. You can turn your palm towards your towards your head, so that your shoulder can lift with the range that makes it lift most naturally. And then you point your toes to really extend those joints in both directions, in opposite directions. So that creates a little diagonal line there. And then return to the starting position and alternate with the left arm and the right leg. And this is called the bird dog exercise. You probably know this as well. In fact, all of these exercises are pretty straightforward and exercises you've probably heard of before and done before, in the context of, just jumping in with a quick equipment-free routine, maybe before you jump in the shower in the morning. That takes, about 15 minutes. As I said, this is not a very long exercise regimen. And you've got about 5 more seconds to finish up the last of the bird dog combinations that we're doing. And we're going to move on to another exercise. So we're going to do, and in total, I have 9 exercises for us today, all based on animal motion. The next exercise, unless you want to take a second in child's pose, which is perfectly fine, take a deep breath if you are in child's pose and stretch out your back, and then go down to your belly completely with your arms out to the sides and your legs, of course, completely straight. So this next exercise is called a butterfly, and you're going to take a deep breath in, and you're going to lift up both of your hands and then lower back down, your arms rather, all the way up, and lifting through the middle part of your chest. So your lower back, you might feel it contract a tiny bit, but you don't really want it to contract. You want to lift up through the top part and the middle part of your chest. And you can pretend, in fact, that your shoulder blades are attached to like marionette strings, and that you're lifting straight up and that your arms come with it. You should feel your chest open even more, and then you lower back down. Now, you can also, if you're good at this and your back is strong, you can lift your legs as well. That would be a more advanced version of this relatively simple exercise, but lower back issues are so common in so many populations within the United States that I rarely recommend lifting of the legs, both of the legs in particular, at the same time, unless you're really, really, really strong. You really have a good sense of how much risk you would be taking if you lifted up both legs at the same time. So that's why I'm only lifting you into the upward portion, the larger wingspan portion of the butterfly. And that's the butterfly. Now, lift yourself back up into the quadruped position and sit in child's pose for a second, because for the next 60 seconds, we are going to do some bear walking. So from the quadruped position, and if you don't have a ton of space, I can give you some ideas as to what to do just from just in the position itself. The bear walk is so hard. So this is not just like crawling around on your hands and knees like you did when you were a toddler, which I will add actually is something that's very good for adults to do. So if you have a small child, and you think it's silly for you to get down on the floor because the child is crawling around and you'd rather get the kid to walk, please don't think that walking is so superior to crawling. Being able to crawl, to get those connections, to work in the brain of a developing human, to make sure that the core has that responsibility, not responsibility, is so critical. And so if you get into quadruped and then you lift up your knees a little bit, so you're kind of in like a partial plank, and now I want you to move forward a couple of steps. Maybe if you have a bunch of space and you can move around, the 60 seconds is going. Now, as I said, if you don't have space, this is kind of tricky. Bear walking is not very easy in New York City apartments. I can attest to that. And I actually have a decent sized living room and dining room where my daughter and I sort of chase each other around like cats. But that's a whole other story. So bear walking when you're in a small space could be as little as just holding the position, or you can, you know how we did the bird dog a little while ago, you could lift up both knees up off the floor so that you're on your hands and the balls of your feet. And then you could do some little just forward and backwards movements with your legs and then with your arms. We've got 5 seconds to go, and then we're going to rest again. All right, go ahead now and take a rest of 5 breaths in child's pose. Make sure you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. It's fun, right? And if you have kids, it is such a fun way to entertain kids at night. Maybe not on a school night right before it's time for bed, because then they might get a little too rambunctious. But you know, this is so much more fun than some of the other activities that are a little more boring when you're a youngster, and especially as it's getting colder and it's time to, not necessarily be outside quite as much. The next exercise, we have 2 exercises now that are kind of intense. So the next one we call the donkey kick. And we'll do the donkey kick first, and then we're going to do the monkey jump. So both of them are pretty hard. But the donkey kick has you starting back in quadruped position again, where your hands, your wrists rather, and your shoulders, and then your knees and your hips are in straight lines. So you're, flat back. You're not contracting your back, your lower back. So keep your belly button pulled in. And then your right leg isn't going to move at first. Your left leg is going to lift up, left knee is going to lift up off the floor a little bit and then come in towards the chest underneath the body. Your back might curl a little bit as this happens. And then you kick back the foot out and up. And then just keep doing that. And we'll say another 30 seconds for the rest of this exercise. So let's just do another 8 seconds with the left leg moving, the right leg is stable. And then we're going to switch. Good. Now go ahead and switch. Now position the left knee back up under the left hip. Lift up the right knee. Bring the right knee in towards the chest, and then continue on for 20 seconds with the right leg. And again, time's up. Rest in child's pose. Great job. Those are donkey kicks. And what's not to love about a donkey kick? One of the really, really amazing things about that exercise is that it forces the legs to work independently of one another. I talk about this a lot. If you are one of my running clients, you know the pivoting concept is something where I focus on the building of strength of the left leg separately from the right leg. In many, many cases, the thing that ails us is that most people are right dominant, which means that most people have a right dominant leg, which means that the right dominant leg is doing a little more work every single day, and the left leg is a little bit weaker in every single activity. And that causes acute issues on the left side and repetitive stress issues on the right side. It is real. So individual leg movements are always built into our exercise regimens. The next thing now, though, is a monkey jump. Back to our animal instincts, we're going to the monkey jump. And with the monkey jump, you're back in quadruped again. This is the last of the exercises in quadruped. You're going to, if you can, lift up both feet at the same time and swing your feet from the right side to the left side and then back and forth and back and forth. So for 30 seconds, I want you to try this. Your butt's up in the air a little bit and you're kind of jumping over to the right, over to the left. You're supporting your body weight, obviously, with your shoulders and your upper back and chest, as well as, obviously, your arms. You want to make sure that you don't mash the heel of your hand into the floor, but rather use the whole palm and your fingers to grip your floor surface. And you've got another 15 seconds. You're doing great. So keep breathing, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. These are monkey jumps. If you cannot do them, you can do little steps over to the right and over to the left, sort of like a moving downward dog, if you will, or a moving plank. Okay, rest in child's pose. That was the last of the quadruped exercises. We're going to do 2 other exercises with bent knees, and we're going to do a frog squat, which is a squat that goes with your butt all the way to the floor. And then we're going to stay in that position for a few minutes or a few seconds, about 30 seconds, to do something I call the duck walk. And then we're going to finish with a one-legged stand, which we call, as I'm sure you probably could have guessed, a flamingo. Okay, so the frog squat is as follows. The frog squat is when you bring your feet together. It's almost like a chair squat, only you're going to keep going down until your butt is right beside your heels, if you can. Now, if you have any knee issues, you can't do this. So I would suggest, if you do have issues with your knees, sit on the wall, maybe in a chair squat, a chair sit, or you can even use a regular chair and do some sitting and standing. You could also do some standard squats, but just, I can't see you because this is a podcast exercise regimen, so you've got to take the exercise and make it your own in terms of your own ability level and the medical guidance that you get from your doctors. But I love frog squats because it forces the body to go all the way down to the floor, which means we have to go all the way back up when we stand back up. And that is hard, but incredibly helpful in terms of your functional capabilities in life. So the duck walk is to get into the frog squat position and then to walk around a little bit. Just like with the bear walk earlier, we'll take 30 seconds. And if you can get back into that frog squat position completely, where your feet are actually flat on the floor, you should or could or hopefully would like to try to move around a little bit. And this kids can do a lot easier than adults can do because of the natural flexibility that they have through their joints. But I love doing this with kids. And I luckily have some clients where there are little kids running around. So it is an exercise that we get to do as a group. It's super, super fun. Okay, the last exercise is to stand all the way up. This you can make into a tree pose. But as I mentioned before, when we were doing the donkey kicks, the individual effort of the left leg versus the right leg is a significant issue to think about when you exercise. And it's not so much that you need to think about it every single day for every single exercise, but it is something, if you want to be able to play a particular sport, or maybe bucket list a road race, a marathon or a half marathon or a bicycling race of some sort. You want both of your legs to be able to pull their weight, if you will, to do the work. So by standing on one leg and trying to stabilize your body, you should be able to stand on each of your legs for at least 30 seconds. If you're under 50, it really would be closer, it would be a minute technically, where you should be able to stand on your leg and stabilize, eyes open, for 1 minute of each on each leg. And if you take the time to do this exercise just as an assessment, a self-assessment, the difference in the stability of your legs should be a key data point in terms of how much work you need to do to create that equilibrium between the two sides of your body, the balance. I don't mean like falling down balance. I mean the distribution of effort between the right leg and the left leg, or the right arm and the left arm. But most of us don't do all that much upper body manual work anyway. It's really more about the quality of your life. It's about your ability to function, your ability to do the things that you want to do in your life. And for most people, that means being able to move around freely without pain and suffering or without medical interventions. So being able to develop that equal effort, balance, equal load, equal participation in the movement sort of equation is a really important thing. And you know what? Four-legged animals, they are doing it. We have screwed it up as humans, but I love these animal exercises for that reason as well. But they're also fun, and that's the main reason why I wanted to do them today. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you again with another new workout very soon.